2, 1. Hey everyone, good evening. I'm Julia O'Hara with USF Housing and Residential Education, and thanks so much for joining us. We're going to be answering all your questions about the spring 2021 housing application and room selection process, as well as any other questions you have about living on campus. So you're either joining us on Microsoft Teams, Facebook Live, or YouTube. So no matter where you're watching, be sure to type your questions that you have in either the comment section if you're on social media or the Q&A tab here on Microsoft Teams, and we will be answering you live. So we're also joined by Dave Kloiber, Associate Director for Operations and Outreach with USF Housing and Residential Education, of course, virtually. How are you, Dave?
I'm good, Julia. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. Thanks for spending your evening with us. We are going to get straight into questions here. We are going to be talking about, like I said, the spring 2021 term. If anyone has any questions outside of that topic, feel free to send them in, but that's going to be what our pre-planned questions are going to be for Dave tonight. So Dave, let's get started by talking about the deadline for applying for the spring 2021 term. Is there a deadline?
Well, Julia, there really is not that much of a deadline, but obviously the earlier you apply, the earlier you can finish and the earlier you can select your room. And room selection does end on Friday, December 11th at noon. So if you want to get an opportunity to actually select the room that you're going to live in, then you want to make sure you get your application done soon.
And Dave, I know that things have changed a little bit from last year. What happens if it gets to that date and the student has not selected a room?
Sure. Once we get to December 11th, we're going to take a look at who hasn't selected a room but still has an active housing application. And we're going to reach out to each student and say, you know what, we need to know where you want to live so we can assign you. And if we don't hear from you, we haven't decided the actual time limit, but if we don't hear from you, if you don't give us a affirmative, yes, I still want housing, then we're going to end up canceling your application.
Okay. And let's talk about applying for housing. How do you apply for housing, and what are those steps that you need to take before you can select your room?
Sure. Well, obviously the first step is you get admitted to the university. Now, I'm sure if all of our folks watching right now, I'm sure they've been admitted, and congratulations for that. USF is a wonderful school. Once you're admitted, you can go and go to the housing website or go to My USF and go to the housing portal, which under My USF would be My Housing. And then once you're in the housing portal, you'll go to Assign. Or, I'm sorry, boy, I just got really far ahead of myself. You'll go to Apply, and then you're going to apply for the 2021 spring only housing application. Complete that application. Remember that at the end of the application, there is the housing agreement, which you'll have to agree to. And once that application is complete, then you're going to, the next business day, your account will receive a $50 application fee. Then it's your responsibility to make sure that application fee is paid. And then now, if you've already done a $200 housing, or I'm sorry, not housing, but a $200 admissions deposit, let's say you're a first-time in college student who is admitted for the spring, then you may already have a $200 admissions deposit on your account, which would pay for your $50. If you don't, make sure you log into Banner or Oasis and go to the payment section and pay your $50 application fee. So once the application fee is paid, you also need to have submitted your immunization requirements. And so the university does have particular requirements for immunizations that they require, and those are, of course, your MMR, and that's required for classes. But for housing specifically, you need to acknowledge that we have a hepatitis B vaccine and whether or not you're going to show proof of it. You need to also acknowledge that we have a meningitis vaccine available and whether or not you're going to show proof of that. And then finally, if you're an international student, you also need to submit a TB test, and that needs to be done before you arrive to the university. Now, once you have your immunizations done, your application is completed and your application fee is paid, the only thing left you need to do is, if you're a new student for the spring, an undergraduate for as an FTIC or as a transfer, you'll also need to register for orientation, and that registration is open right now. And so once all 4 of those steps are complete, then you're ready to select your room.
Great, and we'll get into room selection too, but is there a way if a student is not sure, they forgot if they registered for orientation or whatever the steps are, is there a way that they can check to see what steps they're missing on the housing side of things?
There is a way, and actually if you want to switch to my screen, we could actually, I can actually demonstrate it.
That sounds
by going
good.
to the housing portal.
And while you switch over to that screen, I do want to, we do have a question from Lynn about spring move-in, and we are going to be getting to that topic after we get through the room selection topic here. So Lynn, we'll get to your question very soon. Thanks for your question. And I have your screen here, Dave. I'm going to send it live. All right.
Okay, so under my applications, if you click on that, you'll get some options here and you can see application status. And I'm going to be looking at my spring application. If you're a fall spring applicant, you already have a room assignment for the spring, so you don't have to worry about that. And so here we have the one option that's available for spring only is the spring 2021 spring only housing application. Click on that. And now a report will run quickly, and here it is. I'm ready to be assigned. Now, if anything here was missing, then it would have said you still have more to do, and it would tell you down here what you still need to do, and then you can refer down to the list down here of where do I go to get that taken care of. And so hopefully this will make it very simple for you. You can also see that you have your roommate matching preferences here, where you can also edit these if you'd like. And once you're done, click submit, or you can click cancel. I didn't make any changes, so I don't have to worry about that. And it should take me, if I click on that nice bull U, right back to the housing portal.
Awesome, that's a great resource there. So while we have your screen up in front of us, I'd like you to show us, and everyone watching, the application, or I'm sorry, the room selection process. So okay. A quick overview of where to go for that and how you tell your options, all that good stuff, if you want to do a quick tutorial.
Sure. Well, to begin with, you'll click on assign. That's, of course, if you're ready to assign, which I am, which you've already seen. The only option that's open right now is spring. So we'll click on spring. And I want to select a room because I don't have one yet. If I had a room and I wanted to do a room change, I could click on room change self-service. And that'll again be open up until Friday, December 11th at noon. So if I click on room selection, it starts by telling me a little bit of information. And so now I'm going to continue. It's always important to make sure you have an idea of what you already want when you're going into room selection, especially if you have a roommate group. I don't happen to have a roommate group, and if I did, it would show it here under the roommate information right here. Now it automatically says, okay, you're selecting for the spring term, so you don't have to worry about that. If I had roommate information, it would show here. And now I'm going to continue. And here it gives some tips on how to either navigate or manage the room selection information. So if you're new to this process, we encourage you, please go through and read through all this. It can be really helpful, but then go down to the bottom of the page and click continue. I already know all that information, and I'll go over some of it as we go through here. So here's the map of the campus, and we can scroll around, and anywhere there's a green box is something available that I can select. Now up here in the corner, you see a red box. That would be Greek Village. I don't have a Greek Village application, and I'm not in a Greek organization, and so I can't select there. But there are room options in all of these locations that we see here. And so there's also a list here of all the complexes that have a room that would fit for me, basically based by my gender. But if I want to narrow the results, I can search for beds by criteria, and I could look at unit style. Do I want an apartment, which is a unit with a kitchen inside of it and bathrooms? Do I want a suite, which is a unit with a bathroom that is shared either by just those in the room or those and another room? Or do I want a traditional, which is the bathroom somewhere down the hall? So here I'm going to say apartment. Why not? Bedroom type, do I want a single, a double, or a triple? Well, we're not actually offering any triple bedrooms, but it's an option typically, so it is available there. Now in apartments, we do offer singles or doubles. I'm going to click on single because I know that there are more of them. And that's actually what kind of style I want. And then bathroom style, I would love to have a private bathroom. Now, kitchen and unit, I selected an apartment, so yes, I want a kitchen in my unit. If I know what complex specifically or building I want to live in, I could try to select it here. I could say, well, you know what? I want Holly apartment single, and I want the 2-room version. So I'm going to click on that. And then I can hit search. Now I'm going to get 0 results. Why? Because we do not offer a private bathroom in an apartment. So if I say shared bathroom and search, I'm going to find something. And lo and behold, there are 2 options.
So Dave, when someone's on this search tool, I know that we're getting a lot of questions about what is available currently on campus, because there is space on campus. Is there a way to see just an overview of everything that is available, or a specific type that they're looking for that doesn't have to get so specific?
Well, unfortunately, there's no general way to do that. Now, if you remember what we had here when I looked at room type description, Holly 2-room single is there, but Holly single is not there. That means we're not offering, there's no Holly single is available for me as a male right now on campus. If there was one, it would be in that listing. So this is a great way to find out where are the rooms that are available without having to dig deep into either into the map or into the table display, which I'll show you in a moment. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay. So unfortunately, there's no way to look prior to going into room selection at this time. So I'm going to get more general. I'm going to reset my search so I have more options available to me, and then I can go in through the map if I would like to. So I want to live down here just because I like this side of the campus. It's near Busch Gardens. Who knows? It's about, a quarter of a mile closer to the amusement park. Of course, that's not why we go to USF, but it's a bonus. And so I can see here that we have housing available in Juniper and Poplar, and also Magnolia E and Magnolia F. If I want to get a little bit more information about that, I can also, sorry about that, I'm going to silence my phone because I didn't know it would go off. But I can see that there's 1 room in Magnolia Apartments E. There are 2 rooms or beds available in Magnolia Apartments F. There are 28 in Juniper, and these are the floors they're on, and there are 55 in Poplar, and these are the floors they're on. So you can get that granular just by looking at search for beds by living area. Sorry,
that's super convenient that you can see it from that way too, that you can just click on it with the green outline showing that that's where there are available rooms.
Now you can also go to the table display, which will show you the list of rooms and where they are. So you can see, oh, these are 4-bedroom apartments, all of them. There are some 3-bedroom only apartments in Magnolia Apartments. And you can see, okay, here are the rooms. There's a few here, and so on. You can say, wow, there are 2 rooms available and 2 beds available in this double. That means that double is empty. So I don't have a roommate yet. Maybe I'm ready to get a random roommate. I could pick that room. And we also have an option. Let's say you find an empty or vacant double room. You could say, I picked one side of it. Then you could send us an email saying, you know what, I'd really like to buy out the other half. And so can I have a super single? And so that's an option in all of our double rooms on campus, with the exception of apartments. We don't have all that many.
Dave, you kind of beat me to that one, because that was going to be one of my questions later. If someone wants to do that, would you be able to show, is there a form that you can show us here, or do you want to finish up the room selection process and then go back to that later?
I would have to finish up the process first.
Okay.
So I would say, okay, these are the rooms I want. I'm going to click on this bed space. It tells me how much the space would cost. Actually, I'm going to go back for a minute. I'm going to pick a different room. I know it was in Juniper second floor, so I'm going to go back to that really fast. And so I want to know who's in the other half of the room. What are they like? So I'm going to open that up and it says occupied. Well, I can click on the occupied and see, they're a non-smoker. They prefer a non-smoking roommate. They're neat. Well, it doesn't say they're neat. And so, hey, I applaud their honesty. They like their room cool. They're a night person and they're comfortable having a service animal or emotional support animal. So that's a great combination. They match just about everything I match except for maybe the neat part, but I'm not their roommate. I'm just sharing a bathroom with them. So maybe I can handle that. And so we can actually do that for the next person as well. And there we go. They match me perfectly. And so I think this might be a great roommate match, but I still want my own room. So I'm going to go back in and I'm going to click on the lock button. This is the room I want. Let me just double check that the bed space has all the information I want. It's a suite. It's a double bedroom. It's a shared unit bathroom, no kitchen. This is where it is. This is how much it costs. Okay, I can deal with all that. And so then I click continue. And then it's going to say, review this information. Are you sure? And if I had a roommate group, if I was part of a roommate group, I could then assign my roommates at this point as well, if they weren't already assigned. And then if everything's all good, I can click submit. I'm not going to do that right now just because I don't want to book myself and take this room away from somebody else. But once I click submit, it's going to give me another summary of what I've selected, and then I can move on from there. So I'm going to cancel this. And so I have not selected the room. I'm going to go back to the home page. Now you talked about how do I request a single room? Let me see if it's on here. I don't see it on here right now, so I think we took that request page off, but you can always email us at housing@usf.edu to make that request.
Perfect.
For a super single.
Thank you. So that was going to be one of my questions later. Another one that you alluded to was the roommate group. So you can live with a friend or, choose a roommate, and that is through a roommate group. And since we have your screen up here, would you be able to show us the pathway to form a roommate group and how to select on its behalf?
Sure. To form a group, you go to My Account. And one of the options is the Roommate Group Manager. You can click on that. Click on the Spring Roommate Group Manager. Now, next in early to mid of the spring, sometime in February, you may see more than one Roommate Group Manager there, one for summer and one for fall, because those processes will run side by side for a little while. And so at one point, there may be additional roommate group managers there as well. So here's the roommate group manager page. It tells you exactly how to set up your roommate group, some common questions that people have asked us, and so we put them here kind of as an FAQ. And then this is where you actually begin to set up your roommate group. You can create a group. And so right now I'm creating it, so I'm the leader. And then I can go ahead and invite people. And I can search by university ID, first name, or last name. Now, if you have a friend who's got a very common name, let's call it Will Smith. Good luck if it's the real Will Smith that everybody's probably thinking of right now. But let's say it's Will Smith who isn't famous and rich and a movie star. If you type in Will Smith, you may get about 50 to 100 people. If you type in just Smith, you could get thousands of Smiths. So if you have someone with a very common name, maybe you might want to ask if you can get their university ID number. But I know some people that I would like to, I always like to invite as my roommates. Mr. Fake Guy, yep. And so I'm going to search for Fake Guy. and it's going to say, I found fake guy. So I'm going to say, okay, I want fake guy's roommate. So I'm going to click submit. And I happen to know that fake guy has not applied for housing. And so guess what? It's going to tell me, sorry, you can't add him for, well, you can't add fake guy because he does not have the allowable application type and or their application is not ready for assignment. So not only has fake guy not even done an application, he also isn't ready to assign, and only those who are ready to assign can be added to a roommate group. So I said, okay, fake guy's not there. Let me try another one. I know Screen Test. They're a good person to live with. I want to live with her. Well, you may have heard me say I want to live with her. There are two problems with Screen Test. A, she hasn't applied or her application's not ready. But B, even if she had applied and even if her application was ready, I'm a guy and she's a girl. We cannot be a roommate group because we're not doing room assignments for people who identify as opposite genders. And so if I happen to know, let me see, do I know one other person that might have applied? Let's search. Oh, well, I found him. Let's see if he's got an assignment, an application. He hasn't applied either. Oh well, so everybody I went to find, I couldn't add.
They need to complete their 5 steps to living on campus, Dave.
Exactly. So right now I can't invite. Now, if I was able to invite someone, they would get an email from the housing software saying, Screen Demo has invited you to join their roommate group. And these are the other people that were invited to join. And you can please click this link if you're interested in living in the or being part of the roommate group. And that'll take you back into the housing software where you log in, go to roommate groups, and you'd either accept or decline the invitation. If you accept it, everybody in the group gets a response saying you accepted it. If you decline, everybody in the group gets an email saying you declined. The reason why myself and the rest of my staff love this feature is that in the old days, someone would go to logged in, they try to select a room for their roommate, and they're like, I can't do it. And we could see that, well, that's because they changed their PIN number, and so the number they gave you is false, and they didn't have the heart to tell you that they've unfriended you. And so there's no longer the erroneous unfriend, you know it, because you've been notified that you're no longer part of that roommate group. So I'm going to leave the group just because I didn't get anybody. But if I leave a group as the leader, the whole group is disbanded. So if the other people in that group want to get back together, somebody's going to have to reform the group. How does that work? That was your question. Okay.
No, thank you, Dave. I appreciate that. Love that you're able to share your screen here too. That makes it a lot easier for those watching that want to learn the step-by-step. I also shared a link on both the Facebook feed and the Microsoft Teams with information about the roommate group process and a step-by-step. I am going to switch it back over to you so we can answer some of the, we may not be done with sharing your screen, so I would keep it up there just in case, but I have a couple of questions from the audience that I want to address now. One of them is about the cancellation timeline. So this is from a viewer that's joining us on Teams. Can you go over the cancellation timeline as well as canceling after move-in?
Sure. So the cancellation timeline is really for canceling prior to arrival to the university, so prior to the start of your housing agreement. So for those applying for the 2021 spring only application right now, the timeline has already started, so we're already past the date of a cancellation fee-free version of your cancellation. So at this point, I believe we're in the $500 range, but I'm not positive. I have to go look at it, but you'll want to follow that chart. And so if you're going to cancel your application for housing, the sooner you do it, the less the fee will be. If you wait until after we open, it becomes not a request. It becomes a request to cancel, and it may not be approved. So if you're not sure you want housing, and you're leaning more toward I don't want housing, then you need to make that decision sooner rather than later, because the longer you wait, the more it may cost to make that decision. And so you want to be aware of that. Now, after we open and after you move in, your request to cancel is just that, a request. And so the university does reserve the right to deny your request based on the reason for your cancellation. And so you do want to be aware of that. Obviously, there are some reasons that are what I would call automatic. You've been called up for military service, and if that does happen to you, thank you for your service. And so the government's telling you you have to be somewhere, and it's not at college, and so you should be allowed to cancel. But there may be a lot of other reasons that you believe are valid, but the university may not. And so you do want to be very careful about your request to cancel. It may or may not be approved, so you want to be careful not to make plans based on an approval. Wait until you have that approval before you make those plans, or at least before you enact those plans.
Thanks, Dave. And I went ahead and responded to the viewer that asked that question with the agreement. That is the spring 2021 agreement. That in section 3 is the cancellation fee chart policy, and policy that has the timeline listed there. So if you are talking about a different agreement, not just the spring 2021, but maybe the fall spring, that's also listed on the agreements and forms section of our website. And the next couple of questions are going along with the theme of spring access into the lounges and what is going to be open in the spring. That's the study rooms are being asked about by one viewer. And then more opportunities for students to connect in the spring is another question from another viewer. So do you have any insight about what the spring may look like? I know that from the conversations that I've been a part of, that you have been there too, it's obviously safety first, and that's following the university's COVID-19 protocol, which is social distancing, wearing masks, and closing those community areas for the safety of our students and to mitigate the spread of COVID-19. My understanding is that if that is going to change, that would come from a COVID crisis team, a conversation and a decision that would come from that leadership team. Not sure if you have anything else to add to that.
No, I would say that is accurate. We do plan to continue what we have found to be very effective mitigation strategies, and we'll continue to follow them for the safety of not only the individual student, but the entire community. We will continue to do random testing of our resident population, continue to do environmental sampling in order to ensure that the surfaces in the environment are as clean and virus-free as possible. And so we do right now plan to continue those mitigation strategies into the spring. And there are still, I mean, everybody talks about the lounge is closed, I feel isolated. There are things you can do on campus to still remain connected, and they do, and I'll be honest, they begin virtually. We're not going to be having a big group party of, 20, 30, 50, 100 people. It's not going to happen. That's not following CDC guidelines. That's not following our mitigation strategies. But what we do is we do that online. We do that virtually. We do that through things called like Bulls in the Cloud, where students have an opportunity to get together, meet each other, do activities. Yes, they're not always in the same room, but there's nothing that says you and your roommate can't do that at the same time. There's nothing that says that you and a friend down the hall or somewhere else in your building can't get together and do that at the same time. You can still see people outside of the building. You're not restricted to your building. It's not on lockdown. And a lot of people will equate it to lockdown. It's not lockdown. but it
Yeah.
is being careful and being conscious about the fact that, yes, there's something going on in the United States right now and really across the world. And in order for us to all maintain our own health and safety, we have to follow some strategies, which, you know what, don't always make ourselves feel great at the moment, but it's going to keep us feeling good throughout this whole crisis.
Dave, that's well put. Thank you for that. And I think that some things that you talked about that I do want to stress is that we understand that this is unlike anything that we've ever faced before. This is a very different time. And I understand that with the guidelines and protocols that are set in place, that does bring up challenges for students and staff and faculty, everyone involved. And with those, the university has done a great job of offering resources for students, mental health, physical health, making sure that students are remaining positive, and that is done through a lot of different resources that is offered virtually right now. I'll be sure to drop a link on the thread of the Facebook feed to make sure that parents, families, students are all aware of the different resources that are available to students right now. Another great asset that you did talk about is Bulls in the Cloud, which is run by our residential education team, and residents are able to connect with their community virtually through lots of different events. And those are events that range from social justice events to fun events like video game tournaments and all sorts of different things. It's different on campus, and we understand that, but like you said, Dave, this is necessary for us to be able to keep residents on campus, for residents to still be able to have that college experience, but remain safe at the same time. So as we go into our next question, I'll definitely be dropping some links for everyone to learn some more information about different ways for connection and to stay positive and healthy mentally, emotionally, and physically. And then just to the question of will community areas be opening up in the spring? Like I mentioned before, if that decision is made, that will be announced on probably the university's COVID page in a Q&A section. So we'll definitely be sharing that information as it is announced. So be sure to follow us on all of our social media channels for the most recent updates. So with that, just wanted to chime in there. I am going to send it back to you, Dave, to ask a couple more questions that I have prepared. Let's see. Okay, so let's jump into the questions that were asked by our very first viewer, Lynn. Thank you so much for your patience as we got to your questions about spring opening. So Lynn is asking, let's see. Have we determined whether we're offering early move-in for January? And will COVID tests be required for move-in?
So in August, we did require that students get a COVID test within the 13 days prior to arrival on campus. Our current information, and I do want to stress current because, as you all know, there has been a spike right now, and while I don't anticipate this changing, I do believe that anything could happen, and we've all learned that over the last 9 months, is that really anything could happen and may happen. But right now, we are expecting that when a student arrives on campus, they will arrive either to get their key or to just check in and say, I'm here, but also to receive a self-administered test. And they will be asked to drop off that test. I'm not sure what format it is, whether it's a swab, nasal, or orally, but they will be asked to drop off that test at the drop-off locations. And then we ask them, be cautious. You're not in quarantine, but be cautious for the next 48, 72 hours until the test is complete, just to be sure that you're not infected and infecting the rest of our community. But like I said, you're not in quarantine, you're not in isolation, but we ask you to make sure that you're washing your hands frequently, that you're wearing your mask appropriately. Remember, over the nose and the mouth, not just over the mouth, or not just over the nose, or not just around your throat, because you don't breathe through there. But wear it appropriately and just follow all of our guidelines. But like I said, multiple times now, you're not under quarantine when you arrive. And so we just ask you to be cautious. So that will answer that. Whether or not we're offering an early arrival, I don't believe we've concluded that information yet. Have we finished that, Julia? Do you recall? Have we had a final word on that?
As far as early arrivals, I'm not sure. I know that the nightly rate will be included in that rate sheet that is posted on the spring opening page. So if that indicates, you know, if we were doing that for the reason of early arrivals, that might indicate that information, but I'm not positive on that. That will, if that is offered, I will say that that will be included on the spring opening page, which is going to be up very, very soon. It'll be the top banner on our website, and we'll be sure to post it on social media as well. And that's going to have not only the testing information, but also the early arrival information.
So I think we're going to try and have you that information no later than the beginning of December. So if you, I can see here that you are trying to make airline reservations, so we'll try to get you that information as soon as possible. Now, if we do what we did last fall and we try to spread out the arrivals over multiple days instead of our usual period, I do anticipate that those days will be available at no cost for the nightly fee. But again, that'll be confirmed once we have all that information out.
Right, and another thing that I want to plug here for those watching that have questions about spring opening and fall transition, closing for the fall, we're going to be hosting a live with Dr. Andy Johnson, who's our Director for Operations and Outreach, all about closing and opening December 1st. So all of those questions, we'll have all of that, all the answers for those, hopefully at that point. So we'll be able to provide a lot more answers at that time. We'll be promoting that chat, so we'll be sure to share that information on all our social media as well and email that out to students so that people can tune in and ask their questions. And of course, if you ever have a question, you can email housing@usf.edu or call us with any questions that you may have. So Dave, I am going to transition over to the next set of questions that I had for you. We got through a lot of the audience questions. Let's see here what I have next. All right, so we do talk about here in spring opening was going to be my next question for you as well. When is spring opening? So I know that we just talked about having the information listed on the website soon. What day does the agreement begin, and when will people be expected to be moving on campus? When can they expect that?
So spring housing begins on Saturday, January 9th at I believe it's 10 a.m. But we'll have more information by December 1st on whether or not we're going to have any additional days prior to that available. I would anticipate that we will, but until we have the final information, I would say hold off on any airline tickets or any travel plans until you have your confirmed dates. In addition, I do anticipate that we will be having the 2-person helper limitation again. So as you're moving back into housing, we do ask that you limit the people assisting you on moving in to no more than 2 people. And so that'll limit the number of non-residents entering the building. And so I know that sometimes it's a rite of passage to go to college and move into your first residence hall room, and you want you know, your extended family of 35 to come with you, but unfortunately sometimes that's just not possible, and this is one of those terms. And so I hope that we're COVID free next year and bring all 35 with you when you come back to check in the fall. But right now we are limiting it to 2.
Yes, and yeah, just to clarify, 2 only. 35 when we get the clear, not yet. And I'm looking through my questions, Dave. We've gone through a lot when we went through the screen sharing, all of the questions that I had regarding the spring room selection and application process. Is there anything, before I do a little closing and some reminders, is there anything that we didn't get to or questions from the audience that we didn't hear from that you would want to add before we close tonight?
I think that just, it's going to be different. We may not have the experience that you're expecting coming into this new year. A lot of people have a lot of preconceptions about what college is going to be like, and as your last year of high school had probably been, and at least your first year of, or your first half a year of post high school, or maybe at your last college, things are going to be pretty similar here as they were wherever you were before. And so you want to just be ready for it. I know my children have had a lot of, my own children have had a lot of getting used to a new world right now. I know my kids spend a lot of time on Discord, which is another great way for people to interact. And so don't forget those channels as you're coming to USF. Just because you come to USF doesn't mean you don't keep up with your friends and family back home or wherever colleges they're attending. There's a great big world out there, and you're not alone. And if you feel alone, contact somebody. There are lots of great professionals on campus. There are lots of great students on campus. Our RAs are fantastic. Our professional staff that live in the buildings, our staff that work in all the offices around campus, they do a fantastic job. Be a part of Bulls on the Cloud. Be a part of any other online community. Let your interactions grow from those communities that start online, because they could be your best friend later on. I still talk to my friends from college, and that was a long time ago. Before this current, what is it? Well, it was in the 90s, let's put it that way. And before some of you were even born at this point, actually, probably before all of you were born that are thinking of applying for housing right now. And so these are the years that you'll never get back. So make the best of them. This too shall pass, and it'll become what you always thought it would be. Just be patient and study hard and enjoy yourself. And I'm telling you, we'll all get through this better and wiser, and it'll be exactly what you wanted once we get through COVID.
Thank you, Dave. That was very well put again. And just to stress, like Dave said, relationships will start virtually a lot of the times here right now in the current setting, but there are so many opportunities for connecting in person on campus as well. If you haven't checked out the photos of the Tampa and St. Pete campus, are both gorgeous campuses with so many opportunities for connecting outside, where we know is a safer environment with students with masks on, to be outside in those outside spaces. I encourage you to, if you're not a student here yet, to take a look at all of those options, because starting friendships virtually can lead to meeting up maybe outside for a study session or a walk, or enjoying the many outdoor places that there are on campus, especially going into this nicer weather that we're having here in sunny Tampa. So on that note as well, we also have a USF class of 2024, upcoming 2025, and then the earlier classes as well, that I see a lot of students connect with each other to make friendships and find roommates. So if you're looking for something like that as well, I would encourage you to join those groups. I'm going to be providing a link to Bulls in the Cloud and those groups, as well as those professional resources on campus for anybody that's experiencing any distress related to either schoolwork, COVID-19, anything. There are so many great resources offered by the university to help you out. So on that note, I want to thank Dave again so much for answering all of our questions tonight. And I want to remind everyone watching to follow Housing on all of our social media channels to keep up to date with the latest reminders and deadlines. And if you're a current resident and want to learn more about transitioning to the upcoming winter break, Join us for another live Q&A on Tuesday, December 1st at 6 p.m. Eastern. That's going to be talking all about the fall 2020 move-out process, and we'll also talk about the spring move-in process as well in that chat. And of course, if you have any more questions about USF Housing, you can email us at housing@usf.edu. So until next time, have a great night, everyone, and go Bulls!